Welcome everyone to Life Lessons from Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we continue our discussions. The topic is Akrura's mission to Hastinapur. Let me put it up here. And this is based on Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 49, verses 1 through to 32. That's the complete chapter that we'll be discussing today. So there you are, our title, Akrura's mission to Hastinapur, and where this is from. It's the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 49. So this is the Mathura Lila continued. We'll discuss this entire chapter, verses 1 through to 32, concerning this mission. So I'm going to have the chat on. If you're here and would like to say hello, please do so. Harinam Dayasindu is with us from Sydney, Australia. Harinam says, Hari Hari Prabhuji. Welcome, Harinam Dayasindu ji. Great to have your company. I got a text message from you asking about plans for Australia. Right now, no specific plans. Always enthusiastic, but as it stands, we have nothing specific planned. But yes, let's see how Krishna arranges things. Thanks for asking. Nikunja, joining us from Auckland, New Zealand, says, Hari Krishna Prabhu. Harival Nikunja, thank you for joining. Possibly from work or from home, not sure which. We have Shama Manjari joining us from South Africa, the late evening program, joining at 9 p.m. We admire and commend your commitment. Thank you very much. Commitment and dedication to attending these classes over many years now, and then with the time change to continuing to be present despite the late time. So thank you so much. Ananda Kirtanji joining us from Moolumba, Northern New South Wales, Australia. Thank you for being here, Ananda Kirtan. Ananda says, Hare Krishna from Moolumba. That's where I went to school. Ages 5 to 9 before moving to India. Joan is with us, also from Moolumba, I'm assuming. Joan says, Hari Bol. Thank you for being here, Joan. Always grateful for your presence. Alicia, joining us from Auckland, New Zealand, says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, hope you're well and watching from work. Nectar, mate. Thanks, Alicia. Joining us from work. We appreciate your commitment. And Adam is with us from Polska. Witam, Adam. Adam says, Haribol. We are grateful for your presence, Adam. Shama Manjari is with us from South Africa. I've already greeted you, Shama Manjari. Shama Manjari says it's 10 p.m. Prabhu. Okay, even more. Higher level commitment there, joining at 10 p.m. Thank you so much. I keep getting those times wrong. Okay, so we're grateful to all of you for being here. I guess we can start. I'll chant some prayers. I wanted to start these classes now by also just offering traditional prayers, which also gives people a little time to arrive. So Janavamata is with us. Janavamata says, Gaura Bhakta Vindiki Jai. Welcome, Janavamata, joining us from Dunedin in the South Island of New Zealand. Yeah, we'll chant the prayers before chanting the Bhagavatam. Canto 1, Chapter 2, Verse 4. Narayanam namaskritya naram jeva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirared. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Text 18. Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service under the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established, is an irrevocable fact. With that invocation, let us begin. Madeira is joining us from campus, from South America. Thank you for joining here, Madeira, who are grateful for your presence. Is that correct? Am I saying that right? It's from South America? Just confirm there for me, Madeira. New Taliban. Okay, New Taliban. Tallahassee, the southern states of the US rather than South America. Thank you. Okay, so as advertised, today we are discussing the 10th Canto, chapter 49. I welcome all of you to Life Lessons from Srimad Bhagavatam, where each week, twice a week, we discuss a section of the Bhagavatam and consider lessons to apply in life. Today's topic is Akrura's mission to Hastinapur. And this is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, chapter 49, verses 1 through to 31. I remember many years ago sitting in a Bhagavatam class, and the speaker was discussing this verse, one of the verses that will come up today. Canto 10, chapter 49, and the verse is text 27. In this verse, the speaker is Dhritarashtra, like at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. He's blind, both figuratively and literally. He receives good guidance from Akrura, but replies that because of attachment, the guidance can only remain in his mind for as long as a lightning flash remains within a cloud. So that's something we all have experience of. We see clouds, we've seen lightning, we've seen the lightning flash in a cloud. And how long does it stay? A second, maybe a couple of seconds if it's a big lightning flash. So he says the good advice stays only as long as the lightning flash remains in a cloud. And this stayed with me. I was just a child, in fact, when I first heard this, but it stayed with me. And many years later, I was in a position where someone was offering me some good advice. And I remembered this verse, and I said, although the advice was good and right, because of some attachment, it was only staying in my mind as long as a lightning flash remains in a cloud. So maybe you're familiar with this verse, maybe you're familiar with the analogy, or maybe you're familiar with the situation where you have good knowledge but can't apply it because of attachment. Maybe you're going for that second serving of cake and you know you shouldn't, but you do. You might even say, I know I shouldn't do this, but it tastes too good. Maybe you are inclined to stay up late and you know you have to rise early the next morning to dress the deities or perform some other seva, some other service. But you do anyway. There's some attachment that holds you or holds us back. So we are going to discuss this within the context of Akrura's mission to Hastinapur. He's traveled from Mathura to Hastinapura at Krishna's request. And in this discussion, we will receive some lessons on suffering and faith, compassion, wisdom, and attachment. So once again, we're discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, chapter 49, verses 1 through to 31. I think I said 32 earlier, it's 31. Our three topics will be Akrura meets Queen Kunti, verses 1 through to 15. Second topic, Akrura advises King Dhritarashtra, verses 16 to 21. And then King Dhritarashtra's response, verses 26 to 31. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we begin with our first topic, Akrura meets Queen Kunti, verses 1 to 15. Sukadeva Goswami tells us that Akrura has journeyed to the illustrious Kuru capital, Hastinapur, literally the city of elephants. It is distinguished by the glory of the Kuru rulers. And there he meets different great personalities, such as Dhritarashtra, who's sitting on the throne of the emperor. He meets Bhishma, Vidura, Queen Kunti, Dronacharya, Karna, Duryodhana, Ashvatthama, the Pandavas, all these great personalities that we know from the Srimad Bhagavatam or from the Mahabharata. On his arrival, he shared greetings with different friends and relatives, and they inquired about their family members in Mathura or their friends in Mathura. And Akrura also asked after their well-being. And he stayed in Hastinapur for several months, observing the conduct of the blind and weak king Dhritarashtra. And he saw that his judgment was influenced by misguided advisors, especially in relation to his troublesome sons. Queen Kunti and Vidura, they told Akrura of the sinister plans of Dhritarashtra's sons, who were jealous of the remarkable qualities of the Pandavas, the sons of Kunti. They expressed concern that the Pandavas were in grave harm because Dhritarashtra's sons, headed by Duryodhana, were worried, or they were concerned, jealous, perturbed that the Pandavas' influence and their martial strength and their physical strength and their courage and their humility and other good qualities was attracting the affections of the citizens. And therefore, the sons of Dhritarashtra were undertaking different malevolent plots to harm the Pandavas, including a plot to poison them, and many others that were yet to unfold. And so, taking advantage of Akrura's visit, Kunti, she confided in him with tears in her eyes. She remembered her family members in Mathura, and she spoke. She asked, "Do my parents and brothers and sisters and nephews," excuse me, sorry, that must have been loud, "and childhood friends still remember me?" She asked, "Does my nephew Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the compassionate refuge of his devotees, still remember me and my sons, the Pandavas? Does the lotus-eyed Lord Balaram remember us?" In her distress, she asked, "As I suffer in the midst of my adversaries, I am like a doe among wolves. Will Krishna come and console me and my fatherless sons with his comforting words?" And then she offered some very beautiful prayers directed to Krishna himself. Krishna Krishna Mahayogin Vishvatman Vishvabhavana Prapanam Bhahi Govinda Shishubish Chavasisti Datim. Kunti implored, "Krishna, Krishna, great yogi, supreme soul, protector of the universe, Govinda, protect my sons and I. we are besieged by affliction. Nanyat tadava tava padam bhojat pasyami sharanam nrinam bibhyatam mrityu samsarad ishvarasya pavagikat. Queen Kunti continued, for those who are apprehensive of birth, death, your liberating lotus feet are the sole refuge, for you are the Supreme Lord. And then this next verse is also very beautiful. Nama Krishnaya Sudhaya Brahmane Paramatmane Yogeshwaraya Yogaya Tvam Aham Sharanam Gata. Kunti prayed, I bow to you, Krishna, the ultimate pure, the absolute truth, the Lord of pure devotion and the source of all knowledge. I seek refuge in you. I surrender to you. And so Sukadev Goswami told Parikshit Maharaj that while meditating on her family and meditating on Krishna, the Lord of the universe, he said, your great-grandmother, Kunti, she cried in sorrow. Akrura and the Venerable Vidura both comforted the queen, reminding her of the extraordinary circumstances surrounding the births of her 5 sons. They were all born of powerful demigods. So we can pause here and just reflect briefly. What as we see the power of Kunti's faith and her surrender, her heartfelt surrender to Krishna in times of distress. This provides us a wonderful example. She trusts in Krishna unwaveringly. She trusts in his protection, and she takes shelter of him, teaching us that in times of challenge, in times of difficulty, we must hold faith and we must surrender, take shelter of Krishna. And in doing so, we will receive strength, we will receive solace, and we will receive grace. However Krishna decides or chooses to bestow that upon us. If we have faith, then we will see his mercy in whatever happens thenceforward. Another nice lesson for us is the example of Akrura and Vidura in their compassionate response to Queen Kunti's sorrow, showing us the importance of providing emotional support and understanding to those going through difficulties. The Vaishnava is by nature paradukha dukhi, sorry or sad on seeing the sadness of others. The Vaishnava is by nature soft-hearted. And so this is something we can cultivate, that when our friends, our family, or people in general, the Vaishnava's heart is very great. It extends to everyone. So when people are seen to be in distress, the Vaishnava provides comfort. The Vaishnava reminds them of Krishna's grace and protection, reminds them of the things that they can be grateful for, the blessings that are there in their lives. This is what Vidura and Akrura have done for Queen Kunti, to console her in her sadness. So we go to our second section, verses 16 to 21. Akrura advises King Dhritarashtra. After remaining in Hastinapur for some months, before leaving Akrura, he approached King Dhritarashtra. And he conveyed a message to him. from Krishna and Balaram as an act of friendship. Akrura addressed the king saying, O son of Vichitra Virya, O upholder of Kuru honor, you have assumed the royal throne following the demise of your brother, Pandu. And you must safeguard this kingdom, not just the kingdom, the realm, because they're actually the Kurus, they were the emperors. You must safeguard the realm with dharma, with righteousness. Treat your subjects well and be impartial in your dealings, both with Pandu's sons and your own sons. Does he do it? The first verse of the Bhagavad Gita suggests he doesn't. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharmakshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyotsavaha mamaka pandavascheva kimakuravata sanjaya. What did my sons and Pandu's sons do when they assembled at Kurukshetra, which is also a Dharmakshetra? The commentators, they say that he's asking about my sons and my brother's sons. It indicates his mindset, that he thinks of Pandu's sons as other and his own offspring as those that he's rooting for or having the greater empathy for, showing his partiality. Akrura here is advising him, you must be impartial in your dealing with both of these groups. He advised, otherwise people in this world will censor you, not just in this world, but in the next as well. You will be plunged into darkness. Therefore, you must treat Pandu's sons and your own with fairness. Akrura further advised that in this world, no one possesses lasting relationships with others. We can't cling to our own body indefinitely. We'll have to give it up at some time, let alone our partners, our children, our family members. We'll have to let them go at some point. Every person enters this world and exits this world alone. We're born naked, we die naked. We're born alone, we die alone. And yet the karmas that we accrue while living on earth, they go with us, whether it is virtue or sin. And so Akrura, he concluded, he said, King, consider this world as a fleeting dream, a magician's illusion, a mere fancy. Discipline your mind with wisdom and find equanimity. Disguised as beloved dependents, strangers will take the ill-gotten wealth of a naive person, just as a fish's offspring consume the water that keeps the fish alive. A fool engages in sin to maintain his life, riches, children, and other kin, thinking, these things are mine. But in the end, these very things abandon one, leaving one disappointed. Left behind by one's so-called dependents, ignorant of life's true purpose, neglecting life's true duties, and failing to achieve the real goals of life, a foolish soul descends into the darkness of ignorance, carrying their sinful reactions with them. Therefore, O king, he says, view this world as being like a dream, or a whimsical daydream, or an illusion created by a magician, and use your intelligence to steady your mind and become equipoised and peaceful. So some very good advice there from Akrura, telling Dhritarashtra how to live like a yogi. Recognize the impermanence of attachments. Reminding us as well, we can pause here and reflect. We are being reminded that our relationships and possessions and even our body are temporary in this world. Our attachments, the things that we hold so dear, they are transitory or transient. So it's important to be, as we engage with them, recognizing how they might be used in service, we should also have some sense of detachment as well. And then once they are taken from us, once we lose them, as inevitably we will not be so disturbed. Tam statikshasva bharata, Krishna tells Arjuna. And so what is the thing that is permanent that we can take? That is our relationship with Krishna. We cultivate bhakti. When we leave this body, that relationship we can continue to nourish and cultivate. Akrura is also telling us about the consequences of ignorance and selfishness. Dhritarashtra, he's being warned that when we're selfish and ignorant, then we can be led into sinful activity. Ignorance of life's true purpose, neglecting our real duties, selfishly pursuing wealth and desires can ultimately lead to disappointment and negative consequences. And so there's a lesson for us, there's a lesson for Dhritarashtra and for all of us to prioritize self-realization, to prioritize a righteous life in Dharma, to fulfill our duties and responsibilities, to surrender to Krishna, cultivate our relationship with Krishna. Okay, let's go to our third topic then. How does Dhritarashtra respond to this? Let's see. King Dhritarashtra, to his credit, so we're discussing verses 26 to 31 here. Dhritarashtra, he admitted to Akrura, he says, "Oh, benevolent Akrura, I am grateful to you for your auspicious counsel. I feel like a mortal who has tasted the nectar of the demigods." So he's, to his credit, he's expressing appreciation and gratitude rather than becoming angry. Our tendency can often be to become defensive when we're given good advice. We'll say, "I didn't do that. I'm not like that. What about you?" To his credit, Dhritarashtra, at least he can admit that Akrura is accurately explaining things as they are, and he's expressing some appreciation. He glorifies the wisdom. He says it is like the Amrita that is drunk by the demigods. But then he confesses, and this is the verse that I was referring to in my opening story, text 27. Tatapi sundrita somya hridina stiyate chale potranu raga vishame vidyut soda maniyata. He said, "Even so, Akrura, because my unsteady heart is prejudiced by affection for my sons, these pleasing words of yours cannot remain fixed there, just as lightning cannot remain fixed in a cloud." It's very evocative, that metaphor. At least I find it so. The king, he further said, "I pay my respects to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is descended in the Yadu dynasty, lightening the burden of the earth. He controls the universe through his inscrutable material energy and governs the distribution of the three modes of material nature within the universe." And so that's the response of Dhritarashtra. It's pious, but also we can say, yeah, pious, honest. In that sense, is good. He's also offering obeisances to Krishna. There we must give credit there. At the same time, he's saying, I can't follow it. Let's see. So Sukadeva Goswami, he continues, after understanding the king's disposition, Akrura, a descendant of Yadu, took leave of his well-wishing relatives and friends and returned to Mathura, the capital of the Yadus. Akrura reported to Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna how Dhritarashtra was behaving towards the Pandavas. In doing so, he fulfilled his mission, O descendant of the Kurus. Parikshit Maharaj is also hearing about his great grand uncle as well, Dhritarashtra, the person who is being described here. He is the great grand uncle of Parikshit on his paternal side. So in this we see, well, the importance of appreciating and seeking good guidance. Akrura, he's taken the role of a trusted advisor to the king, highlighting the importance of wise counsel when making important life's decisions. Dhritarashtra's willingness to listen to Akrura and consider his words also demonstrates the value of having mentors, spiritual guides, or friends who can provide valuable insights and guidance, spiritual perspectives. It reminds us that seeking guidance from those with wisdom and experience can lead to better decision making and personal growth and spiritual growth and bhakti. Actually, I've been thinking of this for some years now, how in our society we have a great blessing of many senior devotees who had Prabhupada's personal association. How can we take advantage of that association? So one thing I've been reflecting on, one way that we can take advantage is go and ask for advice. Establish a relationship with these devotees and respect their lived experience and their sadhana over many years, their association with Prabhupada. And so go and ask for life when making decisions. Generally, they will be very open and grateful for the opportunity to share that knowledge with somebody who's eager to learn, who's eager to understand or seeking their counsel. So that's one way you can honor the devotees, honor the senior Vaishnavas in your community or wider community. It's by reaching out to those devotees and asking for guidance, asking for advice. Another lesson for us is we see the struggle of attachment. Dhritarashtra's response indicates how we struggle with attachment. He appreciates Akrura's counsel, he recognizes the wisdom, he acknowledges his attachment for his own sons, which makes it challenging to fully embrace the advice. And the advice is, you are the guardian of your sons and your nephews, treat them equally. Don't be biased towards one of these groups, but you should uphold the Dharma, uphold the law, and be beneficent to both. You must protect the Pandavas, their children, and they are under your charge. But because of attachment, Dhritarashtra is unable to. And so this illustrates the ongoing battle we face in balancing our worldly attachments and our intelligence, our spiritual understanding as well. So at least recognizing Dhritarashtra's credit is that at least he recognizes the attachment. That will be the first step towards spiritual growth. And then it requires some further effort to actually overcome the attachment. Okay, so let's conclude then with a prayer. Beloved Krishna, In Queen Kunti's unwavering trust and her surrender during times of despair, we find profound lessons. Through life's trials, may her faith strengthen us, and in turbulent times, may her surrender guide our way. The path of compassion and support shines through the kindred spirits. We'll start again. The path of compassion and support shines through kindred spirits like Akrura and Vidura, who consoled Queen Kunti in her moments of sorrow. They emphasize the importance of being there for others in their hours of need, providing comfort through understanding and kind words. It's through this collective strength that the beauty of compassion and support reveals itself. Akrura's counsel to the conflicted king Dhritarashtra imparts profound lessons about the transitory nature of worldly attachments and the perils of ignorance and selfishness. All we cherish in this material world, be it relationships or possessions, is but fleeting, like morning mist that vanishes with the dawn. Akrura's guidance reminds us of the importance of wisdom and integrity in our actions. Dhritarashtra's response unveils the ongoing battle between attachment and spiritual understanding. His struggle to balance deep affection for his sons with the wisdom of Akrura's counsel reflects the universal human predicament. Recognizing our attachments is the first step towards spiritual growth, and it is a journey that requires unwavering effort and self-reflection. O Krishna, we pray for the strength to learn from these timeless lessons and apply them in our words, in our own spiritual journeys. Guide us to remain steady on the narrow path of devotional faith, using compassion, righteousness, wisdom, and detachment as our guardrails. Okay, so thank you all for being here. Let me acknowledge some of you who arrived after I started speaking, as well as respond to some of your comments. If you have any further comments or questions related to what we've been discussing, put them in the chat. We can further explore these lessons today, further churn the nectar of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is compared to the cream of all Vedic knowledge. So Madeira tells us that you're in New Talavan, Mississippi. So being in Argentina, live in New Talavan. Okay. Bien in Argentina. That's what I knew. You were from South America. So it's Argentina, but you actually live in New Talavan. Wonderful. Thank you for confirming that. Seva Devi says, Hare Krishna, Shri Palad. Thank you, Seva Devi, and also greetings to Seva Puri. Nice emojis there. Thank you. Mohan Goranga, is that you? Wait, I forgot to show the comments. Mohan Goranga joining us from Dubai. Great to see you. Mohan Goranga says, Hari Hari. We'd like to hear you sing Hari Hari. Mohan Goranga is such a great kirtaniya. Mohan Goranga played Mridanga for me for some time in Sydney, Australia. Thanks for joining us, Mohan. We have Falguni Boon. Welcome, Falguni. Thank you for joining us. Monica Sharma's with us from Sydney, Australia, says Hari Krishna. Sundarananda Gopal Ji is with us from Sydney, Australia, says Hari Hari. Thank you for joining us, Sundarananda Gopal Prabhu. Janava Mata joins us from Dunedin in the South Island of New Zealand. Janava Mata says, thank you, Prabhu. as always, for your valuable insights and realizations on these transcendental topics. Question: are our relationships with devotees, family, and friends eternal if the foundation and intent of those relationships is Krishna consciousness? Good question. So, in the Bhagavatam, we have the story of Chitraketu Maharaj, and he takes initiation from Narad Muni. He becomes, by following Narada Muni's guidance, chanting a mantra, he is able to see Lord Narayan or Lord Shankarshan face to face. But then there is some mishap. He gets cursed by Parvati to become a demon. And so in his next life, he's born as Vritrasura from the fire sacrifice of Tvashta. And he goes and he does his duty as a demon. He confronts Lord Indra to do battle with him. And Indra's scared. Indra's scared to fight him. Initially, Vritrasura defeats him, so he runs away. He takes shelter of Vishnu. And Vishnu gives him the plan how to kill Vritrasura. They arrange for him to get a special weapon called the Vajra, or the thunderbolt. So Indra goes back to confront Vritrasura with the Vajra. But instead of using the Vajra, he throws his club. Why did he do that? Vishnu gave you the plan. Vishnu gave you the specific tool you need to get the job done. But Indra used his club. Why would he do that? Because we're so habituated to doing what we know. We just go back to those old patterns, even if they're not working, even if they're proven unsuccessful. We're just so afraid of change that we just hold on to things even when we know they don't work or no longer work. And so Vritrasura chastises him. He says, Indra, you fool, this club, it's worthless against me. He just catches it and throws it back. He hits Airavata. Airavata gets pushed way back, many, many meters. And Vritrasura chastises it. He says, use the Vajra that was given to you by Vishnu. Have faith. And Indra's still too scared. He's still not using the Vajra. And so Vritrasura, he offers a prayer to Vishnu. And this is the point of this story, because until now you're wondering, what does that have to do with my question? He says, dear Vishnu, please let me always engage in your devotional service, even if he's not doing his part. Let me engage in your service. Let me always remember you, dedicate all my activities to you, and let me always remember my spiritual master, Narad Muni. And may I have his association again. So isn't that wonderful? That Vritrasura, despite being in the body of a demon, he still remembers his Guru Maharaj, and that relationship that he has is still there, even though he's in his next life. And so some relationships, they will be eternal like that. We get reconnected with important guides, mentors, benefactors. We may recognize them or not. That familiarity may be there or not. It's all Krishna's arrangement. Other relationships, they also, we re-entangle with them because of karma. And so we end up becoming attached to or hating or in enmity with the same characters. We're all assuming different roles in these different events. So are the relationships eternal? They're temporary in as much as they're based on the body. The body dies, and then if it's a relationship that's based on the body, then the relationship ends. They are eternal in as much as they're based on that eternal relationship with Krishna. The relationship with Krishna is eternal. The relationship with other souls in relation to Krishna is eternal. Yeah. So that relationship with the spiritual master, it is said to be eternal, as in the example of Chitraketu Maharaj and his service to Narad Muni. Other relationships, they continue in the sense that we continue to tango in this dance of karma, action, reaction, happiness, distress, pleasure, pain. And so, so yeah, we're on this roller coaster together, for better or for worse. And this will go on. It's ad infinitum. The cycle of samsara, it can end, and it should end. Material relationships. The karmic dance, the karmic tango should end. There we are. Madeira, you have inspired me with a tango metaphor. The karmic tango, that should end. We don't want that to continue. Otherwise it will. Yeah, it will in different forms. We won't recognize this person in my previous lives was my father or mother or sister or teacher or business partner or business enemy or political opponent. But yes, we continue to tango with each other and continue to weave the web of the three modes of material nature: sattva, rajas, tamas, goodness, passion, and ignorance. I hope that answers your question. Thank you. A great question. So Sundaranand is also offering a response here. So Sundaranand is offered a very sweet answer. He says, replying to Janavamata, I would like to be connected with you and Sri Prahlad eternally. Thank you very much, Sundarananda. So in support of that aspiration, I too would hope to be connected with you and Indrajuna Maharaj, who was also your Guru Maharaj, Sundarananda Prabhu, my guide and mentor and guru as well, Shiksha Guru. He says, he likes to quote Prabhupada, who says, Prabhupada says that one day we will have our ISKCON in the spiritual world. So that's a nice idea from Prabhupada that Indrajuna Maharaj likes to highlight. Mohini Radha is with us, says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for joining us. Mohini Radha, we're grateful for your presence. And then Rasastali joining us from South Africa says, thank you, Prabhu, for these nectar classes. Thank you for joining, for your enthusiasm. It fills me with encouragement. Gaurachandraji joining us from New Zealand says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavats. Thank you, Gaurachandra. Janavamata has another comment, says, another awesome prayer. Thank you. You should publish them in a book for all the world to read. There is something so sweet and special about hearing the outpourings from the heart and the minds of the Vaishnavas. Priceless wisdom indeed. Thank you, Janavamata. You are a source of unending encouragement. So Indulekha is with us from Boston. Indulekha says, Hare Krishna, thank you for the wonderful class. One question. Our determination for service and desire for devotee association are stronger if we are able to avoid offending devotees? Question mark. I'm thinking that troubles in my spiritual path because I keep offending. I'm thinking that troubles in my spiritual path because I keep offending devotees. Sometimes I think it's better for me to not associate with devotees than to not. Then I will not commit offenses. But then alone it is difficult to survive in this material world. Any suggestions, please? Yeah, thank you for this question, Indulekha. Happy to comment on this. So, yeah, Vaishnava Parad, it is the Hatimata, the mad elephant, and it can uproot or create chaos in the garden of devotion that we cultivate in our hearts. And therefore we are warned, Saru Shabdan, be careful of Vaishnava Parad. I was speaking of Chitraketu Maharaj, so that was his mistake, that he made some offense to Lord Shiva, even unintentionally. He made a joke that Parvati didn't find too funny. And so she took it as an offense and cursed him to become a demon. And so Vaishnava Parad, it is very serious. So how to overcome Vaishnava Parad? When we see devotees doing something that we don't like, try to find what we do like. When we see something in the devotee that we think is wrong, try to see what we can appreciate. When we have an intention to criticize, pause and then take the opportunity to glorify. So every time the mind goes to the negative, pause, that is halt, stop. Take a deep breath and then try to take the other path. Appreciate that some service that the devotee has done in the past or is doing now, something that they do well or nicely, some good quality. Prabhupada had that character. Prabhupada had that nature. He would see the small little bit of devotional service and then he would fan that spark. So when we find our mind going towards the negative, we can pause and then re-discipline the mind, retrain the mind. We won't get it right every time, but if we have that intention, in time we can change the pattern. Indra, he was holding to his old pattern. That club, it worked for me in the past. I'm going to keep using it. So that old pattern we have to give up. Indra had to let go of that club. He had to take the Vajra. And so we need to let go of our tendency to find fault with devotees or criticize devotees or judge devotees and take the Vajra of appreciating devotees, glorifying devotees, serving devotees. Okay, then to your point that sometimes I think it's better not to associate, then I won't make offenses. That's not a good idea either. That's like saying, oh, I have a headache. This head causes me trouble. Then I'll remove the headache by cutting off my head. It doesn't actually, it doesn't really solve the headache issue. No, we need to learn how to associate with devotees lovingly. We need to learn how to appreciate and serve Vaishnavas. That's what nourishes the Bhakti Lata. And so, that can be applied in different areas. If I serve the deities, I make offenses. Better I don't serve the deities. If I chant with offenses. Better I don't chant. And so then we give up on devotional service because we're afraid of making offenses. That's not how we. That's not good reasoning. So offenses that are made unconsciously in the course of devotional service, they're referred to as seva aparads. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu gives a long list of seva aparads, things that are offensive that we should avoid, but we may unconsciously, unintentionally, somehow engage in that activity, walking into the temple with our shoes on, just because we were daydreaming or distracted somehow, talking in front of the deity, circumambulating someone in front of the deity. There's a whole long list of things that we may very well have done many times. So what's the remedy for seva aparads, these unintentional offenses that are made in the course of devotional service? The remedy is keep doing devotional service, not stop devotional service, but keep doing devotional service. Krishna will, the practice of devotional service will wash it out. It gets washed out in the mix. If all we did were blaspheme someone in front of the deities, or talk in front of the deities, or disregard the deities by not offering obeisances, or by going with shoes, or not bowing down before the Rath Yatraka, if all we did was those things, then that would be an offense. But if our general mode is to offer obeisances, to pray, to fold our hands, to be respectful, but then from time to time, just we make mistakes. If we are sincere, then Krishna overlooks those. Aparada sahasrani kriyante harnishammaya nasohamiti mammatva kshamasva marusurana. Aparada sahasrani kriyante harnishammaya nasohamiti mammatva kshamasva marusurana. Pratigyatava govinda name bhakti pranasyati iti samsmritya pranansamdayam. I think you might know these prayers. Induleka, they're prayers that are chanted after puja, offering forgiveness for offenses that are made in the course of services. I commit millions of offenses, thousands of offenses, aparada sahasrana. I do that just by being, by my being on the altar, or by my being in the pujari room, or being in the kitchen. I'm getting a lot of things wrong. And so I ask you, Krishna, to forgive that. Please overlook it and just accept me as your servant. Taking me as your servant, please forgive me. I have heard, Govinda, that you are merciful to your devotees. Pratigyatava Govinda, name bhakti pranasyati. And remembering this again and again, I am able to maintain my life. I'm able to continue to make an effort to serve. Yeah? So that's the spirit. Serve Vaishnavas, love Vaishnavas. If in the course of that, unintentionally, mistakenly, we make offenses, then we ask for forgiveness and we continue to serve. And then it gets washed out. If intentionally we make offenses, then that's another thing. We have to go to that devotee and ask for forgiveness. And if the devotee doesn't forgive, then we go to Krishna and say, this devotee doesn't want to forgive. That's how serious my offense was. So please help me. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that in Bhajan Rahasya. Okay, thank you, Andaleka, and thank you for being here. Nice to see you again, have you with us. Nikunja says, thank you, Prabhu. It seems that Dhritarashtra had once affection, but is now partial to his nephews. The Acharyas mentioned not only was he blind, but also his dealings were calculated. Was it mostly being instigated by Duryodhana, or was he also duplicitous? Dhritarashtra's complicity is that he didn't oppose Duryodhana. Rather, he enabled him. He was Duryodhana's enabler. He couldn't say no to Duryodhana. He couldn't stop him. He couldn't prevent him. He couldn't chastise him. When he's trying to murder the sons of Pandu, so Dhritarashtra's nephews, there is an attended murder going on. And Dhritarashtra is not intervening and protecting his nephews. He's supposed to protect all of his citizens. What to speak of his own nephews, the sons of his brother, but he's not there. He's missing in action. And so he's enabling Duryodhana's cunning plots and plans. Duryodhana is quite open about his ambitions. He wants to take the throne. He wants to be the power in the empire. He doesn't want it to go to Yudhisthira Maharaj. He doesn't want to respect Yudhisthira Maharaj's rightful claim. And so he wants the Pandavas eliminated. He sees Yudhisthira as a threat, and then he sees the other brothers as a threat. because they support Yudhisthira, Bhima and Arjuna, and then the twins Nakula and Sahadev. So he wants them all eliminated. And Dhritarashtra knows it, and he's not standing up to his miscreant son Duryodhana. So yeah, he is held culpable for that. So yeah, he's calculated in that sense. He's part of the plot. He doesn't hatch the plot, but he knows that it's unfolding and he condones it. That's how he's calculating. And he's calculating in that he too would prefer to see Duryodhana on the throne. So in that sense, he's calculating that by not intervening and not protecting the sons of Pandu, then I'll be able to see my son rise to the throne, to inherit the throne from me. So Janavamata says, replying to Janavamata, great answer, kind of tricky question. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I'm grateful for your kind of tricky questions. And then here's a response to Sundarananda, who says he wants to have an eternal relationship with devotees like Janavamata and myself and others. So Janavamata says, me too. Thank you. Okay, so Gaurachandra, he says, Prabhuji, how do we deal with situations where someone, some close relatives, so is a non-devotee, comes to live with you and chastises you directly and indirectly for everything you do, also doesn't have respect for the Shastra, our Guru Varga, how to be tolerant in those situations and at the same time maintain your humility? That's a big question there, Gaurachandra, and it's specific as well. So generally we speak in general. Your question relates to a specific application. So yeah, a relative, some close relative, a non-devotee comes and lives in chastises. It really also depends on the relationship. That relative, are they an uncle, an aunt, a cousin, a nephew, a niece, grandparent? So there are those other dynamics. And then are your parents there as well, or is it just you? So there are different dynamics. What I can say is this, from Shastra, we have different examples. We have the example of Prahlad Maharaj, who tolerates the offenses of his father with humility. We also have the example of Draupadi, who's very strong in defending her dignity. But she doesn't defend it as her own dignity, she also defends it as dharma and as truth and as principle. And so you can take both tacks if you do it in a principled way, in the sense that you can think about this in different ways. You are also a son. So in disrespecting you, your relatives may be disrespecting your parents. So to uphold the honor of your own parents, you might say something. You are also a disciple. So to someone disrespects you, they may also be disrespecting your guru, because you are your guru's disciple. Or they may be disrespecting Prabhupada, because you're Prabhupada's devotee, or Krishna, because you're Krishna's devotee. So we may tolerate offenses against ourselves, but we may stand up to defend the honor of the Lord and his devotees. So the specifics of the dynamics in the relationship, they also count for something. And then also our attitude and how we respond is also significant. It might also be that in attacking you, this person's also attacking other vulnerable people. Maybe you have cousins, or maybe you have children there in the house that need to be protected. So there's a lot of dynamics there. Generally, the principle for Vaishnava is that we are tolerant for ourselves, but our compassion can also take the form of resistance and strength, particularly in relation to others. And those others may be our own parents, their dignity and their honor, or our spiritual master, or our other family members, or our community, or Krishna. So the attitude is also significant and important here. Okay, so we will, Indaleka says, offered a last comment. Thank you for your inspiring answer. Thank you, Indaleka, for the question. Okay, I wish you all well. I wish you health and happiness. I wish you a peaceful heart. I wish you satisfaction in all you do. I wish you a deepening of taste for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and for chanting Krishna's name attentively. I wish you a deepening taste for serving Sri Vigraha, the deity, for serving the holy Dham, and for serving Vaishnavas. And I wish that through practice of bhakti, your heart softens, that you're moved to share these treasures of bhakti with others. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktavinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.